Hey, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah HaKodash. I send double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. I send much peace, love, and salutations to you, Aki. I'm out there pushing the glory of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, sincerity and truth. This is brother Ariala. And I just want to touch in on this heat wave, man. All across the world, we are having a global heat wave that is affecting all sectors. And the major thing that it's going to affect is energy, and um, and it's also going to affect incoming weather for the rest of this year. And we know that the Most High is in control of all things, and a part of His power is using the weather for judgment. Scriptures talk about that, and I just wanted to touch on a few scriptures that note that, because this is a record-breaking year, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse as things continue to manifest. So, with no further ado, I'm going to start here in Jeremiah, the 50th chapter, talking about Babylon. We know we are in the mystery Babylon, and we're in the last leg of it. So, here in Jeremiah 50 and 34, it says, their Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause. Okay. Talking about the captives of Israel, that they may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon their princes, and upon their wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed or confused. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up. For it is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. And that's what we see. That's what we see here. A place that is absolutely confused upon idol worship. That's why the word Babylon goes back to confusion. All right. And so the Most High is preparing a sword or judgment. Judgment upon the liars, judgment upon the men, judgment upon the chariots and its enterprise, the drying up of the waters. And what we're seeing across the United States, across the West, Europe, even in China, different parts of Asia, is some of the driest heat that we've seen in decades, maybe even centuries. And so I want to touch in on that even more. And one of the reasons why we're starting to see a lot of this type of stuff is just because Esau has just jacked up the earth, the foundations of the earth thrown off. With them doing this whole CERN, I was looking at this one video where one of these guys, they show how they started the CERN, super collider on July 5th, and ever since then we've had record-breaking heat. So you got Esau wanting to try to manipulate the elements and play around with the Most High's creation, and it's throwing the foundations of the earth off. And this heat is going to lead to catastrophic calamities all across the world, and it's a part of the Heavenly Father's judgment, because it's increasing famine, it's increasing energy problems, and it's going to lead to more drastic weather patterns throughout the rest of the year. Here in Psalms 82 and 5, start at 4, it says, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. All of it is out of course, man. The weather is out of course. How they render time is out of course. All right. The seasons are thrown off. The foundational things of the earth are out of course, because the wicked beareth rule. And we're seeing more and more and more of these things happen. Psalms chapter 11, verse 1 says, in the Lord put I my trust. How say ye to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain? For lo, the wicked bend their bow. They make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? And that's what Esau wants to try to eliminate all the foundations to take out the righteous, man. the water, the land, the air, the sky. They even want to try to take down the stars, the sun and the moon and the stars, because they know it's tied to our existence. Verse 4 says, and definitely this part that's coming up next to take us out of the foundation of our temple and our ability to communicate with the Most High. Kind of that's the spirit of Banyan Yasha'Allah. Yasha'Allah. I was going to bring out Isaiah 24, but that's perfect. I'll let it stay right there. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in the heaven. His eyes behold, his eyelids try the children of men. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence his soul hateth. Upon the wicked he shall rain snares, fire, and brimstone, and a horrible tempest. Okay? This shall be the portion of their cup. For the righteous Lord loveth righteousness, his countenance doth behold the upright. So we're going to see more and more and more of erratic weather. We're going to see more and more and more of storms, wildfires that are just raging, not just in California, all across the world. Wildfires are going crazy. Okay? Burning up everything. Okay? So this right here, this article, obviously you see that it was written on July 17th this month. It says parts of the U.S. and Europe are bracing for some of their hottest temperatures yet. Across much of the United States, millions of Americans are getting ready for some of the warmest days they've ever seen. Parts of the Great Plains are forecast to hit record-breaking temperatures this week, according to meteorologists. Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas could reach temperatures as high as 110 degrees. The heat is already affecting regions' crops, livestock, and power grids. Parts of Texas and Oklahoma were under excessive heat warnings on Sunday, while Arkansas and Louisiana were under heat advisories. Residents of Texas, mired in a heat wave for much of the past 6 weeks, have seen triple-digit heat from north to south and east and west. The city of Austin just experienced the hottest 7-day period in its recorded history. See, as residents there and across the state turn up their air conditioners, fears about the resilience of the state's power grid are on the rise. Wildfires across Europe. But it's not just happening here. Climate change is what they're going to blame it on. Really is Edomite manipulation. Is making heat waves around the world more frequent and intense, scientists have found. Extreme heat in parts of Europe sent wildfires burning across Spain, France, Portugal, and other surrounding countries, causing thousands of people to evacuate. A pilot died after his plane crashed during a Portuguese firefighting operation Friday. Portugal has experienced some of the worst damage. Wildfires have already destroyed roughly 74,000 acres of land so far this year. In France, 2 huge wildfires in the nation's southwest have spread for nearly a week now and decimated the country's pine forests, according to the Associated Press. The wildfires caused roughly 14,000 people to evacuate the region. Wildfires are also damaging parts of Spain, prompting the country's National Defense Department to deploy most of its firefighting aircraft. Skipping down, it says the heat wave in Portugal caused 659 deaths over the past week, according to Reuters, citing the nation's health ministry. Temperatures reached as high as 117 degrees. You see this? As of Saturday, some 360 people in Spain died from heat-related causes. All right, and you got to remember, a lot of these places don't even have air conditioning because they don't ever really need it. You got places up here in the Northwest in Seattle, they're in the high 90s. They never experience this. Same all the way in California. Places over in the UK, they don't even have air conditioning because they never have needed it. Old grandmas is passing out, dying in their rooms, man. It's on a whole nother level. Let me see if this plays. I'm not sure what this is going to do. Look at this. Hot, hot, hot. Extreme heat all across the UK, all across England. The UK's National Weather Service, also known as Met Office, said temperatures could hit a high as 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and extreme heat warning will affect parts of England Monday and Tuesday. All right. All right. So it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. Now, check this. It says the U.S. is the world's second biggest emitter of greenhouse gases, probably next to China or something. But its ability to reduce its heat-trapping pollution has been limited recently by political conservatives. In late June, the Supreme Court curtailed the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's ability to regulate emissions from existing power plants. And last week, Senator Joe Manchin shot down legislation backed by the Democrats and Biden White House to pump more money into clean energy, which that's going to be this heat wave is going to be used for the next stage of the MOTB when they're monitoring all greenhouse gas emissions, CO2, carbon emissions. It's gonna be, oh man, we don't want to have another summer like we just had. We need to get this under control. It's for your health and safety. So it's all part of it. And that's why they use stuff like CERN, they use stuff like weather manipulation, but really it's the Most High putting it on these people's minds, and it's going to backfire because you're going to mess with the earth. But the Most High, he has put judgment inside the earth to get you, man, to come get you. Okay, that's right. The brother of Diagrams from Basra put Luke 12:49. I come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? You're right. That's right. All right. So I'm gonna play this clip right here, and we're gonna keep it moving.
As you can imagine, extreme heat can be especially dangerous for pregnant people and the elderly, a situation that can become even more precarious if the heat forces widespread power outages. Right now, the continued heat is already taking a tremendous toll on the country's power grids. More than 200,000 people were left without power in Ohio this week amid a heat wave there. American Electric Power, the power company there, says the move was intentional and necessary to, quote, prevent widespread damage. And in Texas, the June heat has already caused electricity use there to reach an all-time high, which seems to beg the question, can America's energy infrastructure take the heat, so to speak? Here now is Romany Webb. She's a senior fellow and associate research scholar at Columbia Law School's Sabin Center for Climate Change. Romany Webb, thank you so much for taking the time. Is our grid, our electric grid as we see it right now, is it built to withstand these kinds of extremes?
No, absolutely not. As you said, these high temperatures drive really high demand for electricity. At the same time, they also make electricity much more difficult to produce and deliver. A lot of power plants don't do well in the heat. Natural gas power plants, for example, really struggle.
All right, so the two ways that a lot of places make electricity is from natural gas and also for hydroelectric. As you can see, over in Europe, Russia has been told to cut off natural gas from Europe. It's all a planned collapse, and it's going to cause even more electrical problems and energy problems for Europe. Over here, we're starting to see dams dry up, hydroelectric plants are drying up, making it difficult to produce electricity. Okay? And so we're seeing these problems rage on and on and on and on.
Operate less efficiently and they produce less output. And so we have this combination of really high demand and restricted supply. If we don't plan for...
So you're going to start to see when you have high demand and restricted supply, class, what happens to prices? Don't be surprised, man, if you start to see $400, $500 electricity bills. Massive electricity bills in New York, California, all right? In the free state of Texas, you know, we got an independent electric grid, you know. So, hey, I always make fun. But yeah, man, we're going to start to see these issues.
For that eventuality, then we do see these outages like are being experienced in many parts of the country.
So it's interesting because we've been going through...
I'm going to play this clip here.
infrastructure. Power shortages, blackouts, damaged infrastructure. The U.S. electrical grid is under strain. Large, sustained outages have happened with increasing frequency in the U.S. over the past 2 decades, according to a Wall Street Journal review of federal data, driven largely by weather-related problems.
Weather events are becoming more frequent and extreme, so that's a real challenge for the system.
And weather events the last few summers have set records. Let's look back to get an idea of how hotter, drier, and more turbulent weather this summer could affect the grid. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, says this hurricane season will probably be above normal. Last year, Hurricane Ida showed how a Category 4 hurricane...
Boom. And so this hurricane season that's coming is a lot due to this hot weather. So you starting to see how the Most High's got all of this stuff connected in the earth, man. The heat is causing issues with the energy, all right? And the heat is causing issues with the jet streams and how and how that affects the atmosphere. So we're looking at not only famine hitting all across Europe and the whole world, really, energy problems, but now we're starting to see storms being able to surge up. So we could have another horrible hurricane season that decimates the islands out there in the Caribbean. That decimates different areas in like Australia, all the way down in South America, which will do what? Will cause immigration problems. People trying to go from one border to another, and then, like the scripture says, a man is going to desire to go into one city and he ain't going to be able to. So you're going to have border wars because people are going to be fleeing one place because they don't have any energy, they don't have any food, they don't have any place to live. They're going to be trying to flee somewhere else. That's going to cause even more chaos. All of these things, man, are being stirred up. All of these things are being stirred up. All right? The book of Sirach, chapter 39, verse 24 says, his ways are plain unto the holy, so are they stumbling blocks unto the wicked. For the good are good things created from the beginning. So evil for the sinner. So evil things for sinners. The principal things for the use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. All these things are good to the godly. So to the sinners, they are turned into evil. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. So there's spirits that are created for vengeance. There's a spirit in the earth for vengeance too. When we see massive drought, when we see hurricanes, when we see hail, when we see tsunamis and things like that, those are spirits that the Most High is putting into the earth for destruction. Earthquakes, those are spirits that the Most High is putting. So check this out in verse 29. It says, fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Okay? All these things are created for vengeance. The Most High wants it. The Most High wants vengeance. He wants recompense for all the blasphemy and wickedness that's been put out there. Okay? It says, wild teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. Okay? They shall rejoice in his commandments. So these spirits that's been put into the earth, that's been put on these beasts, they rejoice in doing what they want to do. They rejoice. The earth is happy when the earthquake hits your city and fucks everything up. The earth is happy to stir up a hurricane, class 5, F5 hurricane, and sweep and absolutely decimate an entire nation state. Okay, they rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word. Okay, so the Most High is going to move. He's going to move through storm and tempest and drought. He's going to cause more famine and death for vengeance. And we're seeing it rile itself up. We're seeing it build itself up. Okay. All right. Now, I wanted to touch on this before I go back to talk about the hurricane season, just to talk about hydroelectricity. All right. It says drought and water loss by evaporation. Drought and seasonal changes in rainfall can severely limit hydropower. Water may also be lost by evaporation. All right. Now, when you go here and you read about hydroelectricity and you go down to the pros and cons, all this right here, the disadvantages, all of these things are happening in the earth. All of it. All of that stuff is happening in the earth. And when you look, nuclear power is strained, wind power is strained, all types of the way that this earth is like runs on energy, it's all being strained out, man. And this heat wave that's happening is exacerbating it all. Okay, making it worse. Okay, so let me go back here. I want to play this.
Hurricane, the second highest classification, could strain the electrical grid.
Winds ripping apart buildings, sending this roof crashing into a power pole, snapping it in half.
Hurricane Ida made landfall in Louisiana, knocking out some parts of the electrical grid.
It could be weeks before the mangled, shredded power grid is restored.
And leaving more than 900,000 people in the state without power. Then it hit the Northeast. PECO, an electric and natural gas utility based in Philadelphia, said flooding engulfed 3 electrical substations, forcing 2 to go offline. Ida left more than 60,000 in Pennsylvania without power. More than 40,000 in New Jersey and 22,000 in New York were also in the dark.
It just goes.
Now, this is going to be on top of pestilences. Now they got the new pox scare. You best believe this hurricane season going to be massive. You best to believe it, baby. Probably get a hurricane all the way up in Idaho.
Just to show the risk that infrastructure can face when you have an extreme weather event like that. Even more so if that event is stronger as a result of a change in climate.
And repairing hurricane-damaged power and transmission equipment and infrastructure takes time.
The turnaround time to bring the grid back can be really damaging. If your food can't be preserved, it can spoil, which is a problem because you can go hungry, or it has a sort of a medical risk if the food is dangerous. You also can't use electricity to treat your water if you don't have electricity. And we use electricity to make our water safe to drink. So if you don't have food or water that's safe to consume, that's a real threat to human health.
It can take around 2 weeks to get customers reconnected in some circumstances, according to Professor Weber. Some local utility providers, like Entergy in New Orleans and Con Ed in New York, have implemented upgrades. But a recent assessment by the American Society of Civil Engineers found to prevent outages during severe storms.
Boom. I just want to make that point there. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead. This right here is on NBC News. Brother sent this article. Warm Gulf water raises a concern in hurricane season as heat wave spreads across the South. All right. There's going to be a lot of this right here. It's going to be a lot of this right here. Yep. A lot of that. Through. Absolutely finished. All right. It says, as the week of summer delivers a heat wave to parts of the U.S., it also brings incredibly high temperatures to the Gulf of Mexico, leading experts to warn if such high weather persists, it could spell trouble for the still nascent hurricane season, meaning the beginning of it. All right. On Wednesday, some 155 million people across the country were expected to face high temperatures above 90 degrees, with 17 million set to experience highs above 100. The hot weather will stretch through Thursday and possibly into the weekend across the southeast, Gulf Coast, and Florida. Whatever his name said, where Atlanta and Florida cities, Pensacola, Tallahassee, and Jacksonville are all forecast to hit or come close to their first 100 degrees in 3 years. Look at that. Now, over in Texas, we've been in 100. We've been in 100 for almost a month and a half now. Okay. Other southern cities, including Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, could set record highs in the coming days. While undoubtedly unbearable on land, such long-duration heat events also make the water off the coast incredibly hot. This recent heat wave has caused the Gulf of Mexico water temperature to spike several degrees above average. The minimum temperature threshold for maintaining a hurricane is 26 degrees Celsius, about 79 degrees Fahrenheit, said Nan Walker, right? We're 3 to 4 degrees above that. or more. So we're well above what a hurricane needs to survive. Okay? That's concerning because warm Gulf water, though not the sole cause, can fuel hurricanes, making them stronger. That's really the biggest impact, the potential for a rapid intensification. All right, said Matthew Resenkranz, lead seasonal hurricane forecaster in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Climate Prediction Center. So as the storm gets close to the coast, it's just going to have that much more energy to work with. Okay, this is what we're gonna see, man. Yeah, we don't know where. Yeah, just like the brother said, somebody said, where are these pastors at? You know, where these pastors at? We don't know. But we here and we stand upon our watch. We're letting you know that we're about to see an increase of all these type of prophetic moves. Okay. It says last year, Hurricane Ida underwent a period of rapid intensification, growing from a Category 1 to a Category 4 storm in 24 hours as it moved across unusually warm water in the Gulf Coast just before hitting land. The ferocious storm crashed ashore in Port Furion, Louisiana, and battered several other parts of the state, pulling roofs from homes, flooding streets, snapping trees, and leaving the metro New Orleans area without power for days. There is no current forecast for storms that could take advantage of the existing warm temperatures. We're going to see more of this, man. I'm telling you, the Most High wants it, right? The Most High wants it. Isaiah 28:2. All right. Behold, the Lord hath a mighty and strong one, which a tempest of hell and a destroying, which as a tempest of hell and a destroying storm, as a flood of mighty waters overflowing, shall cast down to the earth with the hand. Okay, the Most High will use that. Isaiah 29:6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and with great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. And the multitude of all the nations that fight. Well, we're about to read that part. The whole part is verse 6. Okay? We're going to see these things. We're going to see this heat wave continually to rapidly expand problems and more conditions across not just the United States, the whole world. The whole world is going to be affected by this stuff. Okay? The whole world is going to be affected by the heat waves, man. All right, it's going to just get worse and worse and worse and worse, and we're seeing it. It says blistering summers are the future. As heat waves blanket much of the U.S., utilities are managing to keep up for now. Why 100-degree heat is so dangerous for the United Kingdom? Okay, all these things, man. All these things are a problem. Okay, so. Hey, I just wanted to touch in on that because I was like, hey, man, these heat waves, not only is it going to cause electrical and energy shortages and problems and blackouts, and deaths, but it's in the midst of a global pandemic, a new global pandemic, and it's going to fuel the coming hurricane season that's about to rise. And that's another part of prophecy of how the Most High uses the earth to cast out his vengeance. So I just wanted to touch on that, man. We're watching. We see everything that's going on economically and politically, but also the Most High is producing judgments out in the earth. All right. So with that, man, I want to say, call halal Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors once again to the apostles and elders and bishops of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to all you brothers and sisters out there pushing the glory of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai in sincerity and truth. Shalom.